Is the world witnessing the birth of a new NATO, but this time in the Muslim world? On September 17, 2025, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia signed a pact that promises mutual defense. An attack on one will be treated as an attack on both. Some officials even hinted at a nuclear dimension. Could this agreement remain bilateral, or expand to create a Saudi-led defense bloc spanning the Arab world? And if it does, who might join, and why? This question isn't just regional. It could reshape global security balances, challenge U.S. influence in the Middle East, and redefine South Asia's nuclear order. Today, we break down the geopolitical compulsions, the regional players, and the future prospects of this potential alliance and ask, who will be next to join? On September 17, 2025, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia officially signed what is now called the Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement. The deal was announced simultaneously in Islamabad and Riyadh, with both governments confirming its defensive nature. According to statements reported by Reuters and Arab News, the pact binds each country to assist the other in case of external aggression, language that deliberately echoes NATO's Article 5, though without the same institutional structure. The agreement also covers joint military training, intelligence sharing, and coordination on counterterrorism operations. Saudi media highlighted its focus on maritime security and energy infrastructure defense, while Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs emphasized the broader goal of ensuring regional stability. However, what sparked global headlines were unofficial hints of a nuclear dimension. Multiple analysts, cited by Dawn and Al Jazeera, pointed to Pakistan's nuclear capability and Saudi Arabia's long-standing strategic interest in a deterrence umbrella. While neither government confirmed this, the timing amid escalating regional tensions with Iran and uncertainty over U.S. security commitments fueled speculation of a deeper strategic shift. In short, the agreement is real, the defense clauses are confirmed, but its full scope, especially nuclear aspects, remains ambiguous. To understand why Pakistan and Saudi Arabia would enter such a far-reaching defense pact, we need to look at the geopolitical pressures both face today. First, there is the question of U.S. reliability. For decades, Saudi Arabia's security was guaranteed by Washington. But recent events, from the U.S. drawdown in the Middle East to its pivot toward Asia, have left Riyadh questioning whether America would truly intervene if Saudi oil facilities or territory were attacked again, like during the 2019 Abqaiq drone strikes, claimed by Yemen's Houthis but widely blamed on Iran. Analysts at the Brookings Institution note that Saudi leaders now see diversification of security partnerships as essential. Second, there's Iran. In 2023, China brokered a Saudi-Iran détente, but mistrust remains deep. Iran's growing missile program and influence in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen continue to worry Saudi defense planners. For Pakistan, Iran is both a neighbor and a competitor, particularly in energy routes and influence over the Shia population in Pakistan's border regions. Both countries thus share an interest in signaling deterrence. Third, consider economic interdependence. Saudi Arabia hosts over 2.5 million Pakistani workers, whose remittances are vital for Pakistan's fragile economy. Meanwhile, Pakistan provides Riyadh with military expertise. Pakistani troops have historically been stationed in the kingdom, and training exchanges go back to the 1960s, according to Dawn News. This pact essentially formalizes what has been an informal security arrangement for decades. Finally, there's the China factor. Beijing is Pakistan's closest strategic partner and has deepening energy and investment ties with Saudi Arabia through its Belt and Road Initiative. Experts from the Carnegie Middle East Center argue that the pact may also align with China's quiet encouragement, creating a new axis of Asian security that reduces reliance on Western powers. Put simply, the SMDA is not just about Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, it's about a shifting global order, uncertainty in U.S. guarantees, and the rise of multipolar security arrangements. The signing of the Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement sent ripples across the region and beyond. Each major player sees it through its own lens of security and rivalry. Let's start with India. New Delhi has long been wary of Pakistan's military partnerships, and this pact immediately raised alarms. The Times of India reported official concerns that Saudi funding could indirectly bolster Pakistan's defense capabilities, including its nuclear deterrent. India's foreign ministry issued a carefully worded statement urging Riyadh to remain sensitive to regional security dynamics behind closed doors. Analysts at the Observer Research Foundation say India worries that this could tilt the balance of power on its western frontier. Next, Iran. Tehran's initial reaction was muted, with officials stressing their commitment to dialogue with both Riyadh and Islamabad. But Iranian media outlets like Tasnim news agency framed the pact as a thinly veiled alliance against Iran, particularly given the speculation about nuclear cooperation. For Tehran, this raises fears of encirclement, Pakistan to its east, Saudi Arabia to its west. Now Israel. While not directly mentioned, Israeli analysts at the Institute for National Security Studies warned that if Saudi Arabia gained even an implicit nuclear umbrella through Pakistan, it could trigger a regional arms race. Israel has quietly supported U.S. security guarantees to Riyadh, precisely to prevent such bilateral deals outside American oversight. And of course the United States. Washington's reaction was cautious. A Reuters report quoted U.S. State Department officials reaffirming America's long-standing defense partnership with Saudi Arabia, but also noting that any nuclear dimension would raise serious proliferation concerns. Simply put, the U.S. does not want to see its role eroded, nor for Pakistan's nuclear program to extend its reach into the Gulf. Finally, China and Russia. Both have welcomed the agreement. Chinese analysts, writing in Global Times, framed it as an example of regional players taking responsibility for their own security. Moscow's reaction was similar, seeing it as part of a broader trend of reducing reliance on Western-led security frameworks. In short, the SMDA is more than a bilateral pact. It's a geopolitical signal that has unsettled rivals, complicated alliances, and attracted the interest of great powers looking to reshape influence in the Middle East. When Pakistan's Defense Minister Khawaja Asif was asked whether this agreement could remain exclusive, his answer was telling, "The doors are not closed." Dawn, September 19, 2025. That phrase has fueled intense speculation about a broader Arab or Muslim world defense alliance. So, which countries might join? First, the Gulf Cooperation Council states the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and Oman. These countries already share security concerns with Saudi Arabia, especially about Iran's influence. Bahrain hosts a major U.S. naval base but has historically aligned its defense with Riyadh. The UAE has developed advanced military capabilities and might see value in formalizing a collective shield. Qatar, though often independent in its diplomacy, has recently repaired ties with Saudi Arabia and could consider entry if it strengthens regional solidarity. Second, Egypt. With the largest standing army in the Arab world, Cairo has been Riyadh's defense partner in Yemen and has long received Saudi financial support. Egyptian officials, according to Al-Aram, are watching this pact closely, seeing potential to institutionalize their already deep security ties. Third, Turkey. Ankara is not an Arab state but a NATO member with strong defense industries. While tensions with Riyadh have fluctuated, recent rapprochement opens the door to Turkey joining as a special partner. Analysts at Carnegie Middle East Center note that Turkey could use such an alliance to expand its influence in both the Gulf and South Asia. Fourth, other Muslim-majority states like Jordan or Morocco. Both have historically contributed troops to Gulf coalitions. Morocco, for example, sent forces during the Yemen conflict in support of Saudi Arabia. These states could be early candidates if the pact evolves into a wider bloc. Finally, there's speculation about whether this could become an Islamic NATO, a concept Riyadh floated back in 2015 with the Islamic Military Counterterrorism Coalition, IMCTC. The SMDA, by being bilateral, is far stronger legally than the IMCTC, but it could serve as the seed of a broader defense architecture spanning South Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa. Yet expansion won't be automatic. Each potential member must weigh the benefits of collective defense against the risks of being drawn into Saudi-Iran or Pakistan-India rivalries. The willingness of states to join will depend not only on shared threats, but also on guarantees of economic and military support from Riyadh and Islamabad. If we want to understand who might join the Pakistan-Saudi Defense Pact, we must first understand the powerful forces pushing states toward that decision. Those forces fall into 6 clear categories: security anxiety, energy dependence, economic leverage, alliance hedging, prestige and domestic politics, and great power competition. 1. Security anxiety, shared threats that demand collective defense. Saudi Arabia faces an increasingly complex security environment. Iran's missile and drone capabilities, proxy violence in Yemen, and attacks on energy infrastructure, most notably the 2019 Abqaiq strikes that shut down a large share of Saudi oil production. Those events convinced Riyadh that relying solely on distant guarantees is risky and reinforced the logic of close regional partners pooling deterrence. See Reuters. Brookings' analysis on Gulf security shifts. For smaller Gulf states like Bahrain and Kuwait, proximity to Iran and thin domestic militaries mean external guarantees are vital. Joining a Saudi-led pact promises immediate deterrence without the political cost of permanent foreign basing. 2. Energy dependence, protecting lifelines. Energy security is central. Saudi oil exports and the stability of shipping lanes through the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz are global priorities. Countries that depend on Gulf oil or host Saudi investment have an interest in stabilizing the region through collective defense mechanisms. Pakistan itself benefits from Saudi energy and financial ties, while Gulf states want secure supply routes and infrastructure protection. See Arab News. AP coverage of SMDA economic links. 3. Economic leverage and patronage, money talks. Saudi Arabia is an economic heavyweight in the Muslim world. Riyadh's ability to offer investment, remittances, and budgetary support is a powerful incentive. Pakistan receives billions in oil for deferred payments, investments, and remittances from its large expatriate community, roughly millions of Pakistani workers in Saudi Arabia, making Islamabad acutely sensitive to Saudi political backing. See Dawn reporting on remittances and economic ties. 4. Alliance hedging, diversifying security providers. Many regional capitals no longer want a single guarantor model centered on Washington. The U.S. has been recalibrating its involvement in the Middle East. Gulf leaders perceive episodic lapses or political constraints in U.S. responses. A Saudi-led bloc that includes a nuclear-armed partner like Pakistan gives Gulf states a second line of deterrence and more bargaining power in relations with great powers. See Brookings. Reuters' analysis of U.S. influence. 5. Prestige, political legitimacy, and domestic signaling. For capitals like Cairo or Abu Dhabi, joining a high-profile defense pact can confer status, showing domestic audiences they are serious about national security and regional leadership. For Pakistan, it's a way to translate military capability into diplomatic clout and tangible economic returns. 6. Great power competition, China and Russia's enabling role. Finally, Beijing and Moscow prefer a more multipolar order where regional powers provide their own security. China's economic footprint across the region, including the Belt and Road projects and deep ties to both Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, lowers the political cost of Riyadh diversifying away from the U.S. If Riyadh, Islamabad, and Beijing tacitly align on security architecture, other regional states may feel freer to join a Saudi-led pact without fear of immediate U.S. reprisal. See Carnegie and Policy Commentary on China's regional posture. Put together, these 6 compulsion drivers create a potent incentive structure: security guarantees, energy protection, economic carrots, hedging against U.S. uncertainty, prestige gains, and a permissive international environment under rising multipolarity. Any prospective member will weigh these benefits against the obvious costs: risk of entanglement in Saudi-Iran rivalry, domestic political blowback, the nuclear ambiguity problem, and possible friction with the United States. The SMDA is a strategic milestone. It formalizes a deep relationship and opens the door to a reshaped regional security architecture. The most likely near-term outcome is cautious consolidation and expanded conventional cooperation. But the public hints about nuclear capabilities have already altered perceptions. And without clear transparency, the pact will remain a source of instability as much as deterrence. Watch the treaty text, watch joint deployments, and watch how global powers respond. Because those signals will determine whether this becomes a stabilizing deterrent or a driver of regional competition.